The other day, I was scrolling through YouTube and I heard an amazing live recording of David Sanborn absolutely crushing his altissimo. So today I am going to do a breakdown of some of David Sanborn's signature altissimo licks and tricks. David Sanborn was my very first favorite saxophone player. When I was in the 8th grade as a budding young alto saxophone player, I really got into him, and that is actually where I first heard and learned how to play altissimo from listening to David Sanborn. So today I'm going to break down some of David Sanborn's signature altissimo licks. Now this is going to be a more advanced video. In order to try and do these techniques, you're going to need to already be able to play your altissimo notes. However, if you can't play altissimo yet, or you've got a few notes but you don't have it mastered yet, you're still going to learn a lot in this tutorial because I'm going to be breaking down what he does. So when you hear it, you'll know what's going on and you'll know what you're listening to. So let's start off by giving this video a quick listen, and then we'll break down some of the altissimo licks. So this is from a live recording in Budapest in 2015, and the tune he is soloing over is called Brother Ray. That is only about the first 15 seconds of this solo, and he is absolutely crushing his altissimo. So let's go back and we're going to break it down one altissimo lick at a time. So the first thing he does isn't even altissimo, but it is a great primer for what we're getting ready to talk about. He does a rip through 2 octaves of the saxophone. So this song is in E minor, and the solo mostly has E blues scale notes, but there are also some E Dorian minor notes. So what he does is he does a 2 octave rip starting on his low E and goes up to his palm key E's, and he plays the notes really, really fast. What that sounds like in slow motion. Now when he gets to the top, he does an approach note, so he puts a D sharp in. That's going to be something you hear a lot when it comes to rips. You want to land on that top note with some chromaticism. Now, what makes this lick cool is what he does as he is doing the rip. He does a scoop down in the middle of it and then scoops his way up kind of out of tune as he's going up to that target note, the high E at the top, and then gets in tune right when he hits the top. So it sounds like the notes are being pulled out of the saxophone. So he plays the first couple notes in tune, and then he scoops down as he is going up. And then as his fingers are going up, he scoops up with his tongue, which gives you that really hard snap at the end on the E. From there, he goes into a really short altissimo riff between a G and an A, and on that last note, he falls down, like he scoops down as he's playing it. So when you put them together, that's some really strong altissimo. Let's take a listen to what he does after that. That's a lot. So he's doing some altissimo gymnastics there. So he's just going back and forth between 3 notes, an altissimo G, A, and B flat. Now, when I play it like that, it doesn't sound very good because I'm not bringing out the notes that he's bringing out. What makes that sound really good and is super important is bringing out the articulation and the goal note. The goal note in this is the B flat. If you bring that B flat out, it's going to sound really good. So if I were to play that an octave down, I'd play a high G, a high A, and a B flat. Obviously, it's a whole lot easier down there, but that would be a good way to practice the lick. And then once you get it down, try and do it in the upper octave. If you're still working on getting your first altissimo note out, or you can get a couple notes out, but you don't feel confident up there, I would like to invite you to come check out the Scott Paddock Sax School. In my sax school, I have a course called Ultimate Altissimo, where I teach you step by step how to get your first altissimo note. I talk about tongue position, I talk about embouchure, fingerings. I give you all kinds of tips, tricks, and techniques to get that first altissimo note out. Then once you get the first one out, I teach you how to do the rest of them in order and then show you how to make them a functional part of your saxophone playing. So if you'd like to really master your altissimo range, then come check me out at the Scott Paddock Sax School. I'll put the link in the video description below. All right, let's take a listen to what he does after those altissimo acrobatics. Okay, so he squeals out an altissimo E. Now, when I do this, I'm gonna finger a D and just raise it up to an E. So the thing that you need to know about altissimo, this is super important, that the fingerings are not nearly as important as your tongue position. Some people call tongue position voicing, they're the same thing, but when it comes to altissimo, it's all about your tongue position. You can finger the wrong note and have your tongue in the right position and that note will come out. And you can finger the right note and have your tongue in the wrong position and that note will not come out. When it comes to altissimo, it's all about tongue position. Now, when he's going up to a high squealy note like that, usually there's going to be a setup note. You might not even hear the setup note that well, but there's going to be a note that gets you up into the E. So I'm going to use a G and then squeal up into that E. So you can hear that little thing on the front. That's me hitting the G and going to the E. If I just go to the E, I can get it, but there's going to be this little chirpy thing up front. So using a setup note to get to a really high note is going to make your life a whole lot easier. Now you don't have to play that setup note for very long, but that's going to get your tongue close to the right position. Now when he's playing that high altissimo E, he is squealing it out and there is a huge vibrato on it. The way you do that is with tongue vibrato. So you're going to move your tongue back and forth just a little bit, saying the word doy-oy-oy-oy. So your tongue is going to go back and forth like that a little bit. That's going to give you that really, really big screaming altissimo vibrato. If you try to do it with your jaw by going wah, wah, wah or va, 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 you're going to close your reed off and you're not going to get that altissimo vibrato to sound. So you're going to want to use your tongue for a really high, squealy, screaming altissimo vibrato. If you'd like me to do more videos like this where I am breaking down the techniques of pro saxophone players, leave me a comment below that says breakdown or leave me the name of the saxophone player that you would like me to do the breakdown of. The next thing he does is not altissimo, but it's in the palm keys and it sounds super cool. Take a listen to it and then we'll figure it out. So he's using a setup note to get to the palm key D and then he's doing a trill on the palm key D and then he's scooping out of it. So the setup note is he's coming from a G to a D. Then he trills on that D. So there's a couple different ways you could do it. You could do your D to your D sharp, but I actually like doing it D to the side E here. I like the way that sounds better and it's a little bit easier of a motion and you can get that crazy trill from it. So take a listen to it. So that sounds really cool and then he falls out of it and scoops down as he is falling out of it. Now he's doing something to add power to that note. He is fingering a lower note and getting just the very edge of it before he hits that palm key E, and it gives it a whole bunch of power. So you could do that with either the E with the octave key or the D with the octave key. So it's going to sound like this. I'm going to do it slow so you can hear what I'm doing. So I start off by playing the lower E, and then when I go to the higher E, it kind of squeezes that note out. Now he doesn't hold the lower E very long at all. You just catch the very, very, very edge of it. So you're just catching the edge of that lower note and it gives the palm key note a lot more power. Now take a listen to this next lick. It's really cool. It's a call and response lick where he goes up into the altissimo. For the first part of the lick, he is playing a palm key D, then a palm key E, and squeezing out the G with a growl on it. Then he does the response, but he goes to the lower G. And when he plays that lower G, he kind of growls on that too and makes it really dirty. Then he goes back to the original lick, but this time he adds an altissimo A approach note. So he puts an altissimo A right before the G. Now listen to the power that you get when you squeeze that A and you scoop it down into the G with a growl on it. And at the end of that G, he makes it really, really crisp and clean by doing a tongue stop. In other words, he uses his tongue to stop the note, so there's a really sharp edge on it. If he didn't use the tongue stop, it would still sound cool, but it just wouldn't have that sharp edge. So again, a tongue stop is just when you use your tongue to stop the note. So I'm playing the note and then bringing my tongue up and stopping that note so that it has a really crisp ending. From there, he does some more altissimo gymnastics. That lick is not very easy because when you're going back and forth between the A and the G that quickly, the G doesn't want to come out. All kinds of crazy stuff wants to come out, but the G doesn't want to come out. I think it's because the G and the A are so close to each other, so you definitely have to do something with your tongue to make that G come out. So I'm bringing my tongue down, almost doing a little bit of a scoop into that G so that the note will change. If I don't, that G could be an A, it could be a B flat, it could be a B, it could be all over the place. So again, when it comes to altissimo, your tongue position is super, super important, especially if you're doing a crazy, crazy lick up in the stratosphere. All right, let's listen to what he does next. So that is super cool. He hits the G and does a little scoop and milks it. Then he goes up to the B flat and does a fall, scooping his way down. So when you put it together, super cool. He's doing all kinds of stuff where he's sliding in and out of these notes. From there, he goes up into the stratosphere again with the altissimo E. He has a little bit of problem getting it out at first, which is totally normal, and then he scoops his way down. So when he scoops down, he goes down to a front E or a palm key E, which is kind of a weird note to go to because you have to go through the break of the horn and there's no way you're not going to get some kind of cutoff or chirp or something. And he gets that when he plays it also. It's really small, but you can hear that it doesn't slide all the way from that altissimo E down to the E an octave lower. So if I were doing that, I would probably go to an altissimo G because it'd be a really easy slide. So it lands a whole lot easier when you slide from that altissimo E down to an altissimo G. This last lick is the absolute icing on the altissimo cake. Check it out. So he's playing chromatically from a G all the way up to a B. So he's going chromatically between the G and the B, and he is scooping his way through those notes. Really deep bends so that it sounds like the notes are just getting yanked out of the bell of the saxophone. So this is what it sounds like. That takes a whole lot of control to do and is very difficult because you are bending your way through the notes as you're playing a fairly fast lick up in the altissimo. And that is a breakdown of some of David Sanborn's absolute insane altissimo techniques. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. If you'd like to dive deeper into my saxophone world, come check me out at the Scott Paddock Sax School.